how dense is the burlap on the skin of the scarecrow? How does that burlap resolve on the neck? Because if you have a rope there, it looks very scary very quickly. How dark is his nose? What about his eyebrows? Like, do they have a tongue? She's alive.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels great. The size and everything.
3, 2, 1, action.
For good can have several meanings, something like final or forever, and of course the reference to the song, but as a play on words, perhaps also for the good. After spending all these years in the Wicked universe, what does that phrase mean personally for you?
I think it means all those things. I mean, that's why the title of it. We actually always had named part 2 For Good, even in our script stage of it. We didn't know if it was going to be called that, but we always kept it. And it felt like, oh, you know, this is the end of the epic saga of Wicked. This is the conclusion. This is the look at what this friendship has become or will be remembered as. So it always had just like a little bit more of the meat and the importance of why we're telling this story. You can have the fun and the games in one, and you can get some extra, you can really root for Elphaba at the end, but movie 2 is where it all comes to like the grown-up side of that arc.
And I must say, the Tin Man and the Scarecrow looks gorgeous. And in an interview with Variety, you talked about the costumes and said there was no room for error. Did that mean you were working against time or just the fragility of the materials, or maybe for the fan expectations?
It was really about, because at that point we didn't know fan expectations, but I knew that there are expectations of what the Tin Man should look like and what the Scarecrow look like. There's the Denslow drawings from the original Wizard of Oz books. People have images of the different movies that were made of it, and we were making a movie that felt so real in this world. The relationships were real. The stakes were as high and personal as possible, and so you couldn't look at it and be like, are they in a like a Halloween costume or something? Like, it had to feel like it was actually turned into tin. And so I needed to see the character through it, the actor through it. And so all the prosthetics, I mean, it was an incredible amount of work. We did many versions, we had many models. And what were we trying to evoke in that? What kind of emotions? Were there little stains of tears on the tin? Are the ears made out of the cups of the teacups that he's serving in the scene before? How dense is the burlap on the skin of the scarecrow? How does that burlap resolve on the neck? Because if you have a rope there, it looks very scary very quickly. How dark is his nose? What about his eyebrows? Like, do they have a tongue? All these questions had to be, and we had to have an answer for them, which wasn't easy, and we had to do it physically, because if we just let it play, you wouldn't believe it. And also, oh, well, I won't spoil anything, but you have to feel something for this character. You want them to be, you know, together in some way. So all of those things played very important to us. Yeah.
And I love the practical version of it.
Yeah, and that's a combination of costumes, hair, and then the actual costumes of the design of how he could walk around in that.
There's no place like
And then VFX, okay, so the joints are gonna be blue, so we can add the joints so it doesn't look like a costume. So every department had to be a part. Lighting, camera, how we shot it. If you shot one angle, it wouldn't look as good as another angle. So we all had to be in cahoots of what we were trying to say.
And one part of my work is working with AI and talking about AI. And in an interview with Wired, one of the topics discussed was why filmmakers should not be afraid of AI. Was there any AI in Wicked? And how do you think AI could have a positive influence on art and culture?
Yeah. No AI in Wicked that I know of. We were a little bit too early because while we were designing things, AI wasn't a thing. I remember as we were starting, everyone's like, "Oh, this is AI." You can. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this would be really helpful for us," but we were already moving forward. You know, I think that technology has always given me tools to express. As storytellers and as artists, we use the world to express something human, whatever that may be. You could be on the street over here and use a brick wall. You could use the crackers on the side to make art. So I think that it's not about how it's going to make art. It doesn't make art. We make art. But can we make something of it? You know, there's other complicated things about AI, like where did they get these ideas to generate? How are they doing? That's a whole separate issue. But in terms of actually like part of how we're going to express ourselves, I think that's the great thing about art. We can use anything. I could use this light to say something about it. And I believe in the creativity of human beings, that we'll find ways, and we always harness it in some way.
We could deal with discrimination, propaganda, the effects of lies, abuse of power, rebellion against an unjust system, and some more. And how do you think Oz differs from the USA today?
I mean, that's a good question. I think that the great thing about timeless stories is that they reflect a time that they were both made and of humanity of all time. That it's a cycle. It's a warning, you know, from 1984 to Animal Farm, Cabaret, like all these stories that last. When we were making it, none of this stuff was happening. Maybe it was in the air. Maybe the question was like, who are we? You know, I got the movie when it was in COVID lockdown. So there was a lot of questions of, okay, this feels like a society reset. Oh my, I've never experienced that in my life. Maybe we have never all experienced that in our life. Are we gonna have tables on the street our whole lives? Like, who knows? Who's gonna make up these rules? And when there is a vacuum of power, the loudest person becomes what everybody turns to. So it's hard to fight a loud thing. And yet, the smartest ideas are usually the thoughtful ones behind it. So what can be louder than a loud person? A movie can. A movie actually has space to speak. And you know, our stuff was never about this time. We couldn't have known. But it was about a feeling of all time, that we will always be questioned about what's good and wicked, and that we are probably both. And that every day we are a negotiation of which choice we make every day. And by the end, we're an average of those choices that we do every day. So it is a cycle, it is a process that we go through. And so if this movie can say, hey, you can be brave at any time. If you weren't brave at that moment, there's still time for you. You don't have to give up on yourself. To me, that's kind of what I feel. Did I do the right thing at the right time? Am I saying the right thing at the right, can this move? So to me, it's about, yeah, it's about giving people courage that we determine where our story goes.
Beautiful girl with a beautiful life, such a beautiful life built of lies. And so